Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Pure Cringe, a Bravo Celebrity Book Club. We are two longtime friends, book lovers, and Bravo TV superfans. We're happy to have you join us as we review books written by Bravo stars and rehash some of the greatest and trashiest moments in Bravo TV history. I am Maria McQuaid.
And I'm Michelle Barchkowski.
And we're doing Bad Mormon today by Heather Gay. Super excited about it. Michelle, you said that you had a hard time getting this book. I actually listened to it.
God
What was
love
the
you, Heather.
process?
Your book is on back order for years at like the Minuteman Library Network, which I don't know, there's like 50 libraries. None of them had it.
They have three of
Um
those books, and there's 400 people in the area who want them.
yeah. No, they actually had like a lot of copies. And they're all like,
Really?
yeah, they were all on hold like before it came out. Like
Jesus.
it was
Oh,
kind of
Heather.
crazy. Yeah. I could look at like the back dates of it, like when they were ordered. And then I went to like a couple bookstores and they didn't have them. And then Amazon, like, it could be delivered in like, a couple weeks. So in the interest of just getting it done with, I actually just listened to it. And I had it on real fast because she talks too slow for me. I think I had it on like one and a
1.6.
half. 1.6, you beat me. I'm 1.4, 1.5.
1.6. Is it awful?
No, I think we speak fast. I think this is the thing. So I'll bet like there are some people who would listen to us and have to slow it down. To which I would just say, speed up your fucking brain. So,
Yeah.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
To which I would say sorry, but really fast so that you wouldn't know what I was saying. Yeah, and and,
Sorry,
and
but
here's the
you're
thing.
wrong.
Sorry, but you're wrong. We speak perfectly. Yeah, that's honestly, you could knock me over with a feather, Michelle. I'm not kidding. I'm surprised. Not that I'm surprised that it would be successful. I mean, I think all Bravo books are successful because Bravo, right? But
Right.
this one, I mean, for it to be that big, that it would be hard for you to get almost anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I could have like really like, gone and like scoured the bookstores for it,
But
but I
but
didn't.
why?
Well, it was still like so much time that I have, like, and if I put it off, then like I just wasn't gonna go get it and I'd have like a day to read it. So, it was sort of in the interest of time. But yeah, I don't know if it had to do with, relatively speaking, like what else is out there from Bravo, like that was recently published, if people were just thirsty for a Bravo lady to post her life.
To make good. Yeah, I mean, I also think a big part of it has to do with the particular franchise that she's on as well. And
Yes.
we'll
Yeah,
and we'll
well,
get to that. We'll get to that. I'm curious, did you though, you watched Salt Lake City, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, correct?
I did. I don't think I like watched the reunions, but I did watch the episodes. And I guess I like her book better than I like her on the show. She's very interesting, like I don't like, there's just something about the show that's just like a little lacking, and I it's a little dry. Um
Yeah.
and I don't know what they're gonna do without Jen Shah. Um
Yeah, and well, so for those of you that don't know who Heather is, Heather, and it's funny, I didn't realize how old she was when
no.
I had no idea. So she's 48.
Yeah.
I was
I
surprised. She
I
looks
was
great.
She does look great. Her lip treatment, though, she does too much at her. She got that perfected lip treatment that she does at her spa, her med
Oh,
spa.
the mini lip
Yeah, the
thing.
mini. Well, she's gone like grande with hers, so I think she could back off a little. But she does look good. She looks great. And I yeah, and I guess thinking of how much she's actually done in her life, it makes sense that she's that old, right? So I it and again, like I think like all the cool stuff that she's done, it just doesn't come across on the show. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting about Bravo is you look and you think, oh, these ladies are all so drama and trashy and whatever. But so I think it's good that they publish their books because they're all very accomplished, and it's a reminder of, gal's got it going on.
Yeah, it's a legitimizer too, to a certain extent, right? Like, so, Heather has made her career, as and we know her from Bravo as the owner of Beauty Labs. So she's
Yeah.
very, very successful there. It's interesting to me though that we don't really learn a lot about the business or about her on the show.
No.
That's why I was kind of excited too to read this. I wanted to dive a little bit more and sort of figure out like how this Mormon lady became this, frankly, beauty mogul in a place that I would never think would even sustain a business like that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm really, and I think that's part of like what was not wicked interesting to me about some of like the Salt Lake City was just, what is it about these ladies that, because there's a lot to them. And anyway, yeah, I digress.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was gonna
No,
say.
no. So, yeah, I just to fill in a little bit more about Heather, who she is, she's got 3 kids. She was married to, was it Billy, her ex-husband's name?
Yep, Billy Gay,
Billy? Billy Gay?
royalty,
Um,
Mormon royalty.
royalty. He is Mormon royalty.
Hmm.
Apparently Billy Gay's, is it great grandfather was the bodyguard for Howard Hughes,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
which was actually honestly to me one of the more interesting parts of the book. But Heather
Yes.
lives, I think, in part of Salt Lake City called Holiday. And she and the other members of the cast started, I think, filming on Real Housewives of Salt Lake, I think back in, I think it was 2018 or
Yep.
2019. So the show's relatively new. So it's not like she's been a housewife forever. I think she's one of the the first housewives to do it so quickly, to set themselves up as a legitimate writer so quickly after
Yes.
they started. I mean, this is basically at the end of her second season or third season, so it's pretty impressive for that too. But I actually liked Heather before I read the book. I felt like she was coincidentally coming off of the previous podcast we did, very much like Bethany. The way that we think about her is like the people's housewife, right? Like she's
Yes.
our representative in the housewives. I felt like that Heather was our representative in Salt Lake City.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And
she
she's very
seems very
relatable.
everyday mom.
Yeah. And she's a everyday mom. She's very relatable. Um, and I guess again, like going back to like I just didn't know like how successful her business was because she's obviously got like a boatload of money. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think it's one of those things where, yeah, because she has a ton of money. And she even, alludes to, some stuff in the book about, going shopping and buying tons of stuff. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize she was making that kind of money. But I think she was doing well, and I think she's, I think what we would call in this part of the country, like a hustler, right? Like she
oh,
works hard.
girlfriend hustled from way back in the day, and that's
Yeah, from
very
birth, it
obvious.
seems like.
Yes, and she loved it. She also loved it. But I also like I'm just really curious. I think like okay, she hustled so um did she sleep? Did she eat well? Did she get to work out or did she care about those things? I don't know. Did she keep a clean house? Did she have a housekeeper? Did she organize her kids' clothes? I wonder about all these things that
Yeah.
because she also loved like throwing parties and like attention to detail, which I was all over that because I love that. But I just kind of wondered like and because everybody has their own thing that like they prioritize. So I just kind of curious, like I know what I would prioritize. What did she prioritize? Because she just kept hustling, and it didn't matter like if it did well or didn't do well. Um, but I also kind of looked for her photography, and I really couldn't find much of anything.
That sucks. I was going to ask you about that because that I think was one of my favorite parts of the book. And what I liked about the book was that I liked that it was broken up into those sections,
Yeah.
right? Like, it was like bad child,
Yep. Yep.
bad, bad missionary, bad wife, bad Mormon.
Yep.
But I loved that she sort of broke it down so that there was the section of like her getting into photography, and then she and her husband had a business together. It was called like New Nauvoo or something. And all I kept thinking of was the fucking New Zoo Review
The New Zoo Review. Yeah. It's the New
coming
Zoo
right at you.
Review.
And so yeah, I loved that about the book. I did find it a little obnoxious though, Michelle, and I don't know if you noticed this, that a lot of the chapter titles were song titles.
Yes. They
And at first I was like, and so I have a lot of notes, right? So and like literally like chronologically, I start writing like first thing I write is like songs, chapter titles, ugh,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Um, and there are a couple of times where I was like, oh, fuck off, Heather, seriously. And ugh, I was like, yeah, I get it. You're trying to be like relatable or something or pithy. I
Pithy.
wasn't, yeah, I did
She's
like the fact
twee.
because
She's a bit twee, right? Yeah.
she's a bit, and it's a bit like on the nose.
Yeah.
And I did like the fact that like she was trying to be relevant, but I felt like a lot of it was very like, oh, get the fuck out of here, please.
Yes. And I think I
And
wouldn't have been
I suppose,
friends with her because she would be like one of those friends who was always trying really hard to be relevant.
yeah, and I honestly I draw the line. So I actually wrote down like the point at which I was like pissed.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
which is when she used I got so high that I saw Jesus.
Okay.
Because number one, I fucking love that song and I will not have it maligned. Do you know
You
that
will
song by
not.
Noah Cyrus?
Yeah.
I love that song. So I was like, is she fucking serious? Like that is so like, come on.
And it came
Um,
through like a lot. She had those little twee things or
yeah.
song titles or like throughout. And I was like, okay, let's just write. You
Yeah,
seem
like,
to be a
okay.
good writer. Can you use some different words? Could you paraphrase? Does it have to be exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there were a couple of things like things that she did, and I overall I liked the book,
Yes.
but there were a couple of things that she did that like that drove me crazy with the titles. Also, if she said Mormon flex one more time,
One more.
I
Yeah.
I was going to lose it. I just wanted to go like those two things. Those are not things. Those are diametrically opposed. There's not a person alive who's ever thought that a Mormon had anything interesting about them.
But
Trust and believe.
I think Mormons like feed that shit to you though. Like,
Yeah.
like that they feed the
Like how cool
importance
is
of them.
this?
Yeah, like they think they're really, really cool. And we're here in New England. We see
Yeah.
things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's like well, and the reason why I even say this is I think to myself, like I was raised Catholic. I'm not super religious, but I think I would never say Catholic flex. Like it would just never be a thing. So the idea that someone would say Mormon flex to me was just like it was abhorrent. I was
Well,
like,
because
stop.
I think we want to be as far away from the Inquisition as possible. I mean, I'm embarrassed
Yes.
about that shit. So I'm just like, yes, I was raised Catholic. We don't have to talk about it. But
Yeah, right. Exactly. I've gotten over it through many, many years of therapy and
yes, and
some repeated
shame is
trauma
not in
stuff.
my vocabulary anymore. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. It's just a tattoo I have across my chest. Um, Yeah, I mean, I liked the info about her early life. I would have liked it to get into, I'll put it this way, if this was like a movie, I would have said, can we condense the first half hour down to like 12 minutes? And
Yes.
so for me, I would have loved to have gotten to a little bit more of the meat. But some stuff that I found really interesting was the fact that I really do feel like she was, spilling the garbanzos
Oh my
on
God. Yeah.
on some of the stuff in the church, especially like when she was going to be, was it consecrated in the temple?
Yeah.
And she talked about all the weird shit like those undergarments.
Yeah. The wackadoodle
Um,
undergarments and the
I did not know about that. Did you know those were a thing?
I knew about the magic underwear because I
I
went
did
to
not.
grad school with these two
You're
girls.
so cultured, Michelle.
They were both ex-Mormons, right? Because they're lesbians, they can't be Mormons anymore, right?
Kids
But
go
yeah,
to college. You'll meet
yeah,
so many interesting people.
but they told me some wackadoodle things that like I never knew, and they had a hard time still
Wow.
talking about it because they were sworn to
Seriously?
secrecy. So yeah, there were a lot of things that they would say, and they were really cool girls, but they were just like they would almost giggle with like the fact that like they were divulging this information. Um, but yeah, so I did know about that. I didn't know about the 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 patriarchal grip. What the fuck? I didn't know about that. I didn't know
It
about the
sounds like a hand
veil.
job variation.
It really does. It really, I'm telling you, like you're in like a little peep show, right? This is it.
See what your husband says. Try the patriarchal grip.
Yeah. My husband loves when I do that.
Your husband lives under the patriarchal grip right
He
now.
does. He's like, let's put the veil on and get
He's
your
a fucking
sex toy
handmaid.
and give me the
He himself is a
patriarchal
handmaid.
grip.
But yet, like, so like that stuff was completely new to me. Like, I mean, and I like to think I know a little bit about religions. I even read Under the Banner of Heaven years ago.
Yeah, oh yes, that was a good book. Yes.
But that was much more about like the more fundamentalist sect, right?
Yeah.
So much more
Yeah.
like the Warren Jeffs and all of that stuff. So not necessarily about I guess what I would consider classically, I'm doing air quotes to nobody, but like a classically Mormon perspective.
Yeah.
I did not know anything about that entire thing, like behind the veil and the holes. I was freaking out, by the way,
That freaked me the fuck out, Maria. That was
during
like,
that.
yeah, that was just like And that to me, all I could think of was like, like the super conservative religions that like, put the sheet with the hole over the woman, so that they can like, consummate the
Oh, like the
marriage.
Amish? Is
Yeah, and
that
like
what they,
check if
the
there's
Mennonites
blood.
maybe?
Yeah. So
Oh God.
I mean, it harks back to that sort of thing. So I don't know, it was really weird. And I don't know. And she was so proud to do it for her parents and her community. And, but it was funny because like me with being Catholic, I was always on the edge of like, this is not really working for me, as a
Yep.
kid. And I'd sit there and I'd have all these questions for like, what the priest was saying. Like, can you prove that for me? And I think she was always kind of on the edge as well.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think for some of us too, like you and I went to Catholic school. Like I went to Catholic school my entire life. And so I think my parents were expecting a little bit more of a like leaning towards a Heather Gay level of
Yep.
adherence. But I can see how she was, I mean, she had come from a long line of people who had done this very thing. But what I still can't get over is the fact that nobody gave her, like, there wasn't coaching for it, like before it happened. Like there wasn't a thing that was like, so here's exactly what's going to happen. First this, then this. I mean,
Oh,
honestly, I
right.
was
As a kid, right? There was none of that. Like there was because
like,
we had that for Holy
she had
Communion.
to kind of be naked, which, and
Yes.
no, she had no idea. I was
Yes.
actually stunned, just as an aside. One of the things that I think is interesting is how involved women are in the Mormon church, far more than Catholicism, at least up until the last 30 years,
Hmm. Well, yeah,
which I thought was interesting.
but I didn't, but I don't think she knew how involved they were either. I mean, I think she
She had
knew
no
that
clue.
they were involved in like the sort of the backbone of like, we're gonna get the slow cooker going and put the parties together and shit like that. But
Yeah.
like for the actual ceremony prep,
The
um,
religion.
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know. Oh, and I
I'd
love
be
and I
so mad at my parents. Would you? Would you flip the
well,
fuck
yeah,
out?
for
Like, what
not
would the
telling
ride
me
home
that,
be like?
I
What
mean,
would the ride home be like? Would you be like on the ceiling of the car, like freaking out, going like, I had to be naked in front of people. I had to wear, I wore the wrong bra. Why didn't you tell me?
well, that my parents would even let me do that. That just wouldn't even happen. Do you know what I'm saying? They'd be, oh yeah, no, that's crazy. And yeah, no, my parents, at least like, we had like CCD. Did you have to go to CCD before
No,
confirmation?
because I only went to Catholic schools.
Okay, so you got that in
So
Catholic school.
yeah, yeah, unfortunately.
So what I got was like a CCD classes before Holy Communion and then before
Yeah.
confirmation. And then, and then Catholic college was, I don't know, the nuns were very groovy in Catholic college. So I don't know. They were cooler than the lay people.
Well, I think it's different too, because I mean, I had no idea that there were so many weird, excuse me, there were so many weird to me, unusual to me, right? Rituals around the Mormon church. I had no idea that there were all those like secret handshakes. Now I'm envisioning like some 70s movie with like people trying to do special handshakes. But like the part that freaked me out, honestly, and when she said it, like I was like, as soon as I heard her say the sentence, I was like, what's that about? And I feel like I was holding my breath almost until she talked about it and explained it, which was a long time, it felt like, which was the breath mints, Michelle.
The breath mints the certs, right? Do they
I
use
was
the
so
anymore?
freaked out. I'm like, what is going to happen to her that she needs to fucking have fresh breath? I was just like, what's going to happen here now? Do you know what I mean?
My
Like, I couldn't
mother,
imagine.
if my mother had hounded me about that, I would have been like, is it because I smoke? Is that why you're telling me? Because you think I smoke?
Yes, because it would have been. It
Yes.
100% would have been. But that's the thing. Like with her, like I couldn't imagine what the reason would be, right? And it
Why
felt
is
very
nobody
much
telling
like,
her? Like, why is nobody telling her? Like, and she was mad. She was
is it
rightfully.
Scientology? Like, what is it? I don't understand. It feels a little Scientology-ish.
It is, but what was interesting is as I had read long ago that the FBI loves to hire Mormons because they are family people and they kind of are able to like compartmentalize things very easily. And now I know why, because they got these weird ceremonies and secret handshakes and shit. And her dad was in the FBI, wasn't he?
Yes, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So I thought
I
that
did
was
not
really
know
cool.
that.
See, if I were to make like a show on her book, a lot of it would be centered around her dad being in the FBI.
Well, I honestly, when she said that, I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, I
Like, how
guess
interesting. Russian
they
counterintelligence?
they
Wow.
love they love the Mormons because they've got very strict rules, you know. I mean, you know, let's face it, as a Catholic, right? We lie about everything. So no, I didn't do that.
Well, we're used to that not being as big a deal as it probably should be. Well, let's say it
Right.
like that. It
But
probably should be a bigger deal than it is.
yeah,
However,
but I think like the Mormons are, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, you know, you try to do all you can do to just never talk about it. And if you do have to talk about it, then you like work really hard to like circumvent it and make it about something else.
I have to be honest, I just still can't believe that it feels so much like I mean, I know that people say they talk about like a cult, but I don't even think cult is the word I'm looking for. Is it
And
I
I
don't know. I feel it feels like is it the Boy Scouts like a little bit too? Like there's a special handshake,
Yeah,
there's all these levels.
it's a makey uppy religion is what it is. It's a makey uppy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is it completely fabricated or is it? I mean, I don't
Well,
really know anything
it
about it.
is in Maria, and I don't know, like, I'm sorry, but Jesus has enough fucking fans. He doesn't need the Mormons. So I just, yeah, I
Jesus doesn't need your membership,
he does
is
not.
really what
He
we're
does
saying.
not. Jesus was not really exclusive like that. I have to go back to Catholic school thinking that, you know, Jesus was warm and fuzzy and he was cool about everything. And
Well, here's the thing, like, and I respect the fact that through all of this stuff, like while this was happening, which kind of also I was impressed by secretly, was that while she was going through all these things where it was like I didn't know what was going on, but I kind of just had faith
yeah.
and I did it. And I
Yeah.
kept thinking, like, wow, like she's an incredibly, I don't think she gives herself any credit for, what an incredibly disciplined person she is too.
Very
But
disciplined. Yeah.
and I think that's why I thought it was cool when she became a missionary. And then honestly, when she went to France, I was like, oh, fuck. Because I thought to myself, like, oh God, like that would be like the worst thing that would have ever happened to me, would have to go to France
She
and
loved it.
with my D plus French. Um, but I will tell you, I am so impressed by myself because when she was talking about having the was it the instructor, the French instructor, who they really liked. I forget what his name was, but it was like Frere something, brother something.
Oh, yes. He's very
And they were
lovely.
watching him and he wrote Il nous regarde. And I went, I know what
Yeah.
that means. I was so happy. It reinforced everything we went through with Mr. Dooley. For those of you who don't know, Michelle and I went to high school together. And we took French together, and our French teacher's name was Mr. Dooley.
Way,
Um,
always way,
he was
way.
he was not a pure Parisian French speaker, but a French Canadian. So it was a very elongated Y rather than E.
Way.
It also reinforced my reconnection with Duolingo. So check that off too. But yeah, I will say I think that when she came back from being a missionary and when that whole section where she was working in the tanning salon and all that stuff, I could sort of kind of imagine her that way because she just feels incredibly driven to me, regardless of
Yes.
what the thing is. Um, and then when she met her husband, I don't know, I felt very red flaggy about it.
I did too, but I would have liked her to go more in depth about why they were not compatible. But I will
Yeah,
say one thing I do remember is she had that photography business with him, and then he went and made some deal to sell it
without
without
her.
her permission, which, you know,
Yeah,
I don't understand that. That's not something that I come from. So, you know, like that would be like an agreement thing, like, geez, we're really strapped for cash, or gee, I'm sick of this. Can we move on? That would have been like a conversation with like between my parents, between me and my husband. Do you know what I mean? Like going way back.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not how things ever went for me. So I can't believe and she was just like, yeah, so I was really disappointed about it, but there was nothing I could do.
Yeah, it's funny because I I feel like there's a whole level of this that she doesn't really want to talk about. And
Yeah.
maybe there was something there. I think she has, I guess, kind of the potential to I don't know, I guess save face for her husband,
I
we'll say.
oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure. I'm not trying to say that, but it just sounded a little bit like that to me. Um, but I was very surprised that she married him so quickly.
Yeah.
And and I have a question for you because when she says that she knew that day right? She knew the day that they got married. Do you
Oh,
think that that happens in real
that
life
that she
to
knew
a
that
lot
it
of
wasn't going
people?
to work.
Yeah, that people know that like before they're going to get married and then they get married. And if so, what would be advantageous about that? Because I think that does happen.
Uh, well, from personal experience, I can't say that that's
No, no, but
I
I like,
can't say
have you
that,
ever
but
heard of a situation where anyone said to you, like, I knew right away? I knew the day that, I knew even before we got married, it wasn't going to work.
I have heard people say that, and I think what happens is you start making these plans and you think things are going to get better, and then when you start planning a wedding, every people get cranky during wedding planning because you're never going to do anything this crazy again. And so you're trying to involve all these other people and make other people happy and make yourself happy and your future spouse happy, but then you both start acting like total dinks. And I think she probably saw that like he was uninvolved. um you know what I mean? So yeah, so I think that does happen. Like when you plan a wedding,
Yeah.
you see really like how someone's going to be in a partnership later on, and then you just like, well shit, I've done it all now, I guess I'm just going to do it and hope it gets better. But it doesn't get better, and then you like would have a baby and hope it's going to get better. It's that kind of thing.
Oh, right. And she tried to do that 3 times.
And so you're saving face, basically. That's what it is. So yeah, we're planning this wedding, and yeah, to just like suddenly like call your wedding off is a really big deal. I mean, you gotta come
Yeah.
clean with everybody. And then, we've paid for things or at least put big deposits on them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, right, right, right. Like, yeah, yes, because I've never been married, I don't even think about these things. Like, but there's a whole practical side of it
well,
too,
there
where you would say,
is.
like, we've spent already so much money.
Yeah, and I think like if you were just to elope, and then that's like a different story, because it's like, well, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I think when it, and especially too like where she's been programmed to say that like you're supposed to be married and have babies and contribute to society. I mean, that was probably a really big deal. I would really like to know though exactly what didn't work. I guess I just, again, like you say, I think she's, maybe for her kids' sake, she's
Yeah,
not
covering.
saying a lot about her husband. But and I also think too,
I think we can infer too by the way that he was about money.
oh,
So I think we can infer. I mean, when she said that the company was his parents' company was worth like 400 million,
right. And
and she was on this really tight budget, to
yes,
me, that just means control.
yes,
That
that's
someone is
true.
controlling you for control's sake.
Yes.
So I feel like she was telling us as much as she can tell us,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I feel like she gave us, breadcrumbs. And I feel like when someone does that, when someone is weird like that about money, that's usually a control issue. I mean, especially if you have it.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, it's, it is what it is. But if
Yeah.
you have it and you have it in abundance, and it sounds like he used it to control her even when they were separating, and that, he had her on a very strict budget and he knew every
Yes.
dime that she spent and she had no idea what was going on with his finances. And so it further reinforced like there's this duality with Heather, which is like the damsel, which was who she was at home, I feel like,
Yeah.
and then the boss lady, right, that she had to be when she was at work. And to your point, maybe that's why it's good to hire Mormons. Maybe this is a skill that they have where they can kind of play two roles. But
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like she was a little bit, and I felt bad, and I actually wrote it down. I felt bad that when she said that she didn't tell anybody when they separated because she was ashamed,
Yes.
and I thought, because it's so very clear to me that it is because of things that he did
Right.
that
Well, and
were,
I think he wanted her to be successful and go out there and make a lot of money and add to his pile.
yeah,
But then he, didn't want her to go like do anything with it. Or, like she
yeah,
loved having those like the parties for her kids and the photographs, and like that meant a lot to her. And, I know I do a lot of things that, Brian, my husband, thinks is a waste of time or a waste of money, but he knows it makes me happy. And, and I try to like keep it in check so that it doesn't go like ape shit and take over everything, So I think he's got lots of things he does that I, don't love, but I know they make him happy. So that's, it's a balancing, and it's like just a respect for one another kind of thing. And I don't think he had that for her. So then she just went probably like pedal to the metal and just said, I'm going to go crazy with everything we do. was like her way of like, getting
Yeah.
back.
It feels like that she, almost the way that, you control what you can. And
Yes.
I think that the things that she could control was the image that she projected, right? That card, the Christmas card.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and she had a very different image that she projected with men. I actually wrote this down because I thought this was a really sad thing to say as a woman, was that she didn't want to lead with qualities that men don't find attractive.
Well, I don't think she's completely out to lunch saying that though, because I know there are a lot of women who act that way. And
Which I can't believe, which it was it was shocking to me. It
yeah.
was as shocking as the magic underwear.
Yeah.
It was as shocking as the magic underwear because I was like, what?
Yeah.
And honestly, what it made me think of is a lot of the work that I do. I use this assessment called the As I See Myself. I work on
Oh.
organizational development and learning and development. So it's this particular assessment it's a forced choice inventory, and it's groups of 4 words or phrases, and you're trying to pick the one that matches most clearly or closely how you see yourself. It's very interesting. But I found that sometimes people will have a hard time with certain answers. They will shy away from ones that feel unattractive for them.
Oh,
So, for example, one of the choices is dominant. And I've talked to a lot of women who say that like sometimes they do feel that way, but they would never consider checking it off.
oh, really?
Yeah. Or one was persuasive. This one woman didn't want to, and I talked to her, I was like, so what do you do for work? And she's like, oh, I'm a real estate agent. And I thought, you don't see yourself as persuasive? You see that
It's
as a bad thing?
then you don't make money, I guess, if you're not
Right.
persuasive. I mean,
But I think
yeah.
that it's so interesting that so many of us don't want to claim things that either we ourselves or we perceive that others will not find attractive.
Interesting. I that's really interesting to me because I've never thought that way. In fact, like
Yeah,
I
same.
actually just actively like didn't really care like what somebody thought about me. I'm a bad
Yeah,
bitch, okay? And
you are. I've known you almost all my life. Yeah, I know, and I can confirm, like, I feel like it was not a thing where you would have ever behaved in a way that would have felt contrived.
yeah, no, and I don't think you've ever acted that way either. And I think, but then I think to like other girls we went to high school with, and they're very contrived. So
And they
yeah,
still are.
they still, yeah, that's another.
Bless, bless them and their reunion.
Bless them.
Um, so I loved also the transition to start talking about being cast by Bravo,
Yes,
because
that
I
was really interesting. So
wasn't
she's
that
kind of the
fascinating.
she's the OG, really, right?
So yes, so interestingly enough, I felt like this entire fucking time that like the PR train has been saying to us, or like the producers have been saying to us, no, it's Meredita, or no, it's I love that, it's Lisa Barlow, right? I never for 1 second thought that like that Heather was Jill Zarin, right? Like
Right.
she was the center of the group, and to figure out how she met with all these people. um I will say I feel like out of all of those little like intros to each of the ladies in the cast, I gotta be honest, I think that she kissed Meredith's ass. Like when she talked about how cool Meredith is, and oh, and her son and Brooksy is,
Yeah.
he's bound to be a star, and like all this stuff. And I just thought it was really funny. I actually wrote like she's kissing Meredith's ass here. But like
Yeah.
I loved the idea that like she had known Lisa Barlow forever. And now we can have this sort of like insight into why she was so freaked out that Lisa was like, I don't know her.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, I hadn't put that together until you said it. But yeah, so um and I don't understand that either. But I know why she was freaked out. I don't know why Lisa said that. Um, so it's good that she came out and said that in the book. But I mean, she's like a mover and a shaker, right? And she's a
Yeah.
connector. She's a people connector.
I loved that when she talked about Miriam Cosby, honestly. And one of my, and not to sort of to blow my load, but I'm so excited to say that Mary is coming back as a friend of.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And
I
I loved her description of Mary when she
I did too. Like
went to
that
that
was the
dinner with
part where I
her.
was like, what? I slowed it down. I slowed it down to 1.4. I was like, speak more about Mary, please. Make it last longer with Mary.
I know. Like
Telling her she didn't like her outfit, that she was fat, that she was the ugliest of everybody, so she better shut up.
yeah. Oh, Mary's terrible. But that like the dinner that she sat down and had with her, right? Where she was just like total royalty and they were bringing her dishes and she was like, no,
No, no. I'm gonna do
I
that with you
can't.
in
I can't.
Savannah. I'll be like, no, no, I can't.
So yeah, I didn't know she was coming back as a friend of. That's good because there aren't many gals left. Right? I mean, they're not like an abundant cast.
They're dropping like flies, and interestingly enough, it's mostly the people of color. So the first person to drop off was Mary, to leave was Mary. Then Jenny had all those weird racist outbursts, and she was a fucking weirdo.
Uh-huh.
And her husband was creepy, almost forcing her to have a baby. I thought he was going to like incubate her and like make her carry a baby against her will. It was a
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
like he was like the guy in Human Centipede. Like he's a science fiction dude that I don't want to be a part of. But and then yeah, it's not okay
They
for
were kind
me.
of gross, weren't they? They were weird.
Yeah, they had the only thing that was okay about them was they had this young daughter who was like this sort of like bright ray of sunshine and just super cute, and but the husband was just, what was his name, Dewey or something like that. He was, the way that he talked about her, and and the way that he sort of dismissed her, not maybe not wanting to have kids. He did it in a way that I found like really scary. Like I thought to myself, imagine if you were married to this guy and he said this about you.
Yeah.
How you would feel, and if he said it on national television or international television, like how you'd want him dead. So I don't know, maybe I'd say weird racist shit too after somebody treated me like that, but she did, and so she was let go. And then Jen Shah,
Yeah. Yeah, Jen
right? So
Shah.
everybody else is white in the show, right?
Well, yeah, which to be
Which
honest
of
with you,
course does reflect Salt Lake City.
it does. I was gonna say, like, I was surprised that there were people of color in Salt Lake City. So, I thought they were kind of salty
Yeah,
white. That's what I thought.
yeah, I think they are. I think they are, but I'm hopeful that they'll bring more people in. It's better, I think, to have diversity too. It's like I actually liked learning about Jen and her like Tonkin roots and all that stuff. But yeah,
Yes.
I loved how the book ended sort of on the up note with her introducing everybody in the group and sort of stepping into I guess wanting to live her life more openly. And I liked the fact that she said quite a few times, she referred to it as coming out, and I really do feel like it is. It's like she came out as someone who is, not going to do this stuff anymore. But I love how it doesn't really affect her faith too.
Right. Yes, she's able to keep her faith, which is important. And again, regardless of how I feel about religion, I think, if it's something that is your past and it's, there's good memories from it. It wasn't like
Yeah.
she was abused, so there's a lot of good as well as weird. But, so she wants to keep that goodness. And I,
Yeah.
and I got to tell you, there was, a nun like that I'm still friends with from college, and she just used to say about religion, it's like fishing, Michelle. You cast your net, and then whatever you pull in, if you want to keep it, good. If you don't like it, toss it back. So she toss it back what she doesn't want. And I think that's really good. I mean, she's very strong.
Oh yeah, and I think honestly, she is one of the few. I will say, I think she's one of the few like Bravo celebrities that I would say to somebody like, yeah, like you could build your business acumen to look like Heather Gay, and you'd be pretty successful. You can't say that about maybe Portia Williams, right? Like it's kind of a different vibe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kind of a different vibe.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, definitely.
but no, honestly, so did you like the book? What do you think? Maybe like
I
if you were to
really
rate
like
it
the
like
book.
1 to 5.
I like 1 to 5, like one the highest, like what's the highest? Five, the best?
5, yeah,
Yeah,
five's the
five. I would
best.
give it like an 8. Like I really liked it. I thought she was great. I loved her stuff about when she was little and how her parents treated her. They were, with like the protective thing, but they really like they they're very involved and they did a lot like for her, like like the thing with like the green bean casserole and how they
Yes,
would like
yes.
put the recipe together. Because I
It's
do that
cute.
I do that for my kids. I would like they'd say we want to cook something, and I would put it out. I'd take the dishes out, and it like again, I'd spend more time writing it out and taking the things out for them than you know what I mean. And then they would just get to go and like have that little bit of independence and do that. And she felt like a big girl, right? Like she was contributing. She liked it. That was very positive.
Yeah, I like the book too. And for the same reasons, I think that it's rare that you see this like in a Bravo celebrity where you're like, wow, yeah, I think, you could tell your kids to look up to this person. They work hard.
She
And
does. Yeah.
I think she owned up to her, mistakes that she made. I think it was a pretty fair and balanced book. So I would probably give it, out of 5, I'd give it a 4.
A 4. Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. Um, I don't know that I would want to read the physical book though. I think that what made it for me was her narration too was good.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know that I'd want to read the physical book, but I did like the audiobook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's got, the only thing I will say that I was disappointed, and it's really not even about the book, but this recent sort of black eye gate thing that happened this last season,
Yeah.
and
What
how
what is that? Like I
she she woke up one morning with a black eye and didn't know how she got it.
yeah.
And on the episodes, it was really weird either, and I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, either how it was edited or how she said things made it look like she did know, but she didn't want to say. Because she
Right.
would say
No.
things like, we all know what happened, right? Like weird things. And so it turns out that during the reunion, she talked about it and said she didn't know, that she got drunk and woke up with it and was embarrassed and didn't want to say anything.
So she's saving face again. She's trying to
Yes,
not
yes.
piss
So I
somebody.
think,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that that's a part of her character. So that's the only thing that I would say, like that bums me out a little bit. But I mean, obviously we all have character flaws, but that was like the big drama with her this season.
But isn't the
There,
speculation that it was Jen Shah?
that's how she sort of laid it out at first.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, oh, Jen must have, and then some stupid, I forget who it was, but someone said it was like a scissoring accident gone wrong. Like, you know, whatever. It's like, okay. Um, but before we go, I do want to tell you she is in the news now. And I don't
Oh.
know if you knew this, that she is suing or trying to sue the Mormon Church because they have effectively stopped her from selling merchandise with bad Mormon on it. They won't let her use the name.
Oh, so I know that they were suing her. I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they've put an injunction together and they've stopped her, I think, as of right now. I think she's fighting them in the courts.
So is she not
So
allowed to like sell her book anymore or
she can do the book, but she was trying to trademark it and they won't let her
oh,
because,
okay.
yeah, so because she wants to be able to sell all kinds of cool merch. And so she can't do it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
Huh.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. But no, I think this was a great book. I'm glad we did this one. I'm glad I'm glad we had to wait a little bit because we had to wait for it to come out, but I'm glad we did this one.
Yeah.
Um, anything else you want to share about the book? You good?
Um, no, I think we covered it. I wish she had told us more wackadoodle things about the ceremonies. Maybe she told us all she could tell, but you know, because she's sort of guarded that we know,
Yeah.
about certain things. So I wonder if that's as much as she felt she could divulge. As I'd like to know more.
Yeah, me too. It was an interesting subject. I'd love to do a little bit more research. I don't know how much of that is even public. I don't really know how revelatory this book was in terms of, was she telling us something that nobody knew? I mean, I knew it was stuff that you and I didn't know, but did other normal people know this? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was a great book. Thanks, Michelle. This is a great one.
Yeah, this was fun. And what's next? What are we doing next?
Yeah, so thanks everybody for joining us. We trolled through those shallow but always hilarious waters of Bravo Liberty books, and we will be hopefully laughing our butts off together next time as we read the big sexy, sexy, sexy sex book. So much sex by Lisa Rinna. It's going to be a lot, you guys. It's going to be hilarious, but it's going to be a lot. Lisa Rinna is a tough one, so I'm looking forward to it, and I cannot wait to skewer her. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.